One Piece chapter 960, Kozuki Oden takes the stage. So this was a fun chapter, and this is like the beginning of what I assume is going to be like a long flashback arc. And we've also finally unlocked Oden as a playable character, and surprisingly we also saw Denjiro. And there's quite a few things I have to say about him, so let's get into it. So this flashback is taking place 41 years ago, and we're seeing that Wano was a much different place then. It wasn't overrun with poverty, corruption, and pollution the way that it is now, thanks to Kaido and Orochi. But also we're seeing Suru in her youth, and she was much more attractive then than she is now, and she's kind of just an unfortunate byproduct of Oda's harsh aging process to some of these characters. Like with him, you either age gracefully or not so much. We're also seeing that with like Hyogoro. Like somehow since this time he's become like an eighth of his size. I don't know how that happens, but, you know, just like this is what Oda does. But also, like in the first page when they're talking about the mountain moved, it was growling. That must have been a mountain god. Of course, we were all confused at first by this, but it's actually pointing to the parent of the white boar that we're going to be seeing in this chapter, and also that shows up in the very last panel. So then we're seeing young Kinemon also, who has like a completely different hairstyle, a different temperament as well, because this was like during his Yakuza thug days. But he also has like a comical little interaction with Suru between debt and everything, who he'll eventually win over somehow. But we're also seeing Oden's dad, who is Kozuki Sukiyaki, and this is like continuing the name scheme of like food, because Oden is like a type of hot pot dish with like fish cake and stuff like that. Sukiyaki is similar. I like Japanese food just as much as the next guy, but that stuff's a little too hardcore for me. So he starts going off of all of Oden's feats. And this is like all before he's the age of 18. So let's go over these because they're pretty funny. So as a baby, when he was less than a year old, he was able to throw the wet nurse across the room. By age 2, he was catching like 2 rabbits with his bare hands. By age 4, he was killing bears by throwing boulders on them. Age 6, he was roaming through the red light district, wasting royal funds on that. The red light district, it could mean a few things, but here I think it means ladies of the night, if that makes sense. So yeah, he was being promiscuous by age 6, more or less. Or it could mean something else, but I think it means this. By age 8, he was getting drunk and starting fights with gamblers. And then by age 9, he was blacklisted by the Yakuza from entering casinos. He set it on fire. And then by age 10, he was captured because he nearly killed someone. And then he was sentenced to work at this stone harbor, but like he was just too beastly for it, and he took it over. So yeah, Oden was a complete Chad since day one. And it's also kind of portraying him to be like a sketchy, maybe not so good kind of guy. So they throw in some altruistic deeds in there just to save face for a little bit. It's like, hey, he's not such a bad guy. You know, when he was 14, the capital was experiencing a prolonged drought, so he diverted a river straight into the capital. So yeah, he's a good guy. He's trying to help everybody out, but in the process, he flooded it. You know, he can't really help you without hurting you at the same time. He's like one of those guys, but his intentions are good. And then we'll go to like one of his greatest feats. So apparently, at age 15, every night he would kidnap women from the capital, and then he formed his own harem. So this is like, whoa, this is sketchy, because this could lead to a few assumptions of what's exactly going on here, but then they save face again. It's like, even though technically the girls chose to stay there of their own free will, so it's okay. You know, you don't need to Me Too Oden for this. It was all consensual, more or less. But then this started a battle known as the Harem Revolt. So all of these battles get their own names, even just this one where everybody's trying to take back their women from Oden. And it goes into the whole, you know, Hydra women, Hydra wives thing that we heard about in the previous chapter that lines up with the whole meme. But by the end of this flashback, we're seeing that Sukiyaki is, like, disowning Oden, essentially. So then, surprisingly, we see Denjiro, or at least very young Denjiro. And, no, he doesn't look like Kyoshiro at all. I think this might be debunking it, which is kind of odd because the new intro in the One Piece anime kind of depicts Kyoshiro to be one of the 9 Red Scabbards, which led us to believe that he is Denjiro, but he doesn't look like him at all. Unless somehow Kyoshiro went under some kind of plastic surgery or something happened, and now he looks like the way that he does, but this is very peculiar. So most people seem to think that Denjiro is Koshiro, Zoro's teacher, because they do share many aesthetic similarities, and their ages kind of seem to line up, because Koshiro would be like 51 now, and if you go back 41 years, I guess Denjiro could be 10 at this point. Maybe his age is ambiguous at this point. But also, it's like, we know, according to Ashura Doji's flashback, that Denjiro was fighting Kaido with him. So he was there when that happened. But then, like, Kuina is like, would be 22 years old, or in Tashigi's case, 23, more or less. Like, it's said that she's like 1 year older than Zoro. So 20 years ago, Kaido invaded Wano. So then that means that he left after that and then had Kuina, or left before that and had, see, it's kind of sketchy here. It's like the timelines are kind of weird. And also it says that Koshiro, his hometown was in Shimotsuki Village in East Blue. So either that means like he was born there, or he wasn't, or when he changed his name to Koshiro, that's when he became a part of that village. Because, I mean, we also don't know Koshiro's full name. It's just Koshiro, as far as I know. But there is some ties to him being to Wano, because he does have the Shimotsuki crest, you know, from Yasui. So either that's just because he's in that village and that's the crest that they have, or he is somehow tied to Wano. And there was that whole implication that the technique that Zoro used on Da's bones to cut steel was, of course, learned from Koshiro, which can only be learned from Wano, or more or less. So does that mean that he is Denjiro and he learned it from there, or whoever formed the Shimotsuki, which was 50 years ago, apparently. So the timelines are weird here, but there is a lot of aesthetic similarities, and also the sword on his back that we see him carrying in this chapter could be Wado Ichimonji. I mean, you know, we don't see the color of it, but the hilt kind of looks similar. The guard looks similar. So it's just something to think about. I mean, it could be him, it could not be. So then we're finally seeing Oden, and he looks exactly how we expected him to be. And there's no big shocker here. He's not some character that we've already been introduced to, at least it doesn't appear to be. So he was just a shadow just because Oda just wanted him to be. They just wanted to save the reveal for this flashback. And he's eating Oden also, like I was talking about that hot pot fish cake thing. But he appears to be like super disrespectful here because he's like has the pot on top of this roasting corpse. But apparently this is like Oden's way of respecting this dude. This is like his one last meal and drink with this guy. But of course, it seems super disrespectful to everyone else. But just continuing the Chadness of the mega Chad that Oden is. We even see the girls fawning over him, and we're coming to the end of the chapter here. We're essentially going to go into a display of Odin's power in the next chapter, because we're seeing that like the white boar that they've had throughout this chapter that Kinemon currently has with Denjiro. The parent has come. Like the big mountain-sized boar is going to come and try to take back its kid, but probably try to destroy the capital in the process. And then we see Oden like, I want you to give me that boar. So Odin's probably going to destroy this gigantic mountain-sized boar in his first true display of power. And then we'll go further into the flashback after that. So some people want this flashback to last for the rest of the year. I don't know why. I mean, I guess Oden is interesting and the history of Wano is interesting too. But man, we're like so deep into the arc right now, and we're at the great point that we all been waiting for, with the big war to finally happen. And I kind of want to go into that, so I hope this flashback doesn't last too long. But if it does, at least let us see like Roger stuff, or let us just see the Kaido fight. Let us see Kaido invading Wano. Let's see why Kaido wants Wano. Let's get more about the Poneglyphs. What's going on with them and the Gozuki family? You know, if it's just a whole bunch of slice-of-life Wano stuff and just developing, like, Oden as a character as well as the Scabbards, that's fine, but just don't drag it out too long. At least that's just how I feel. Maybe everyone else is different. But let me know what you thought about this chapter in the comments. What do you think is going to happen with Oden? How long do you think the flashback's going to last? And if you liked it, guys, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon that gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.